And I think at the end of the day, 6 months from now, when we look back at this, if it's done in 6 months, it will be, okay, did Donald Trump create the MAGA movement, or did the MAGA movement create Donald Trump? That's a fascinating test.
Yeah.
Here.
Have you ever known him to be a limp-wristed thespian? Like a vaudevillian poet that would write enigmatic, mysterious poems to Jeffrey Epstein and then wear some type of French hat and draw beautiful outlines of women scantily clad? Like, does it sound like Donald Trump to you?
It's the first hint of corruption that they've ever wanted to expose. I mean, I've been in Congress trying to expose Hunter Biden and the Biden crime family all of this time, even Joe Biden's cognitive decline. And there was like nothing to see here, folks. They looked like the penguins in Madagascar. You didn't see anything. And now all of a sudden they're about truth and transparency.
I have sources inside of the DOJ and the FBI that says that meeting is on the books. It's not something that they're dangling in front of us, Piers. It's not some shiny object. It's happening. It's already on the schedule. And it's going to happen.
Hey, listen, if you're still talking about it, why are you talking about it? Then I don't need your support. And it's like, what are you talking about? People like me who've been there since 2016 in Los Angeles, I had to move. I was doing stand-up comedy and acting. You know how much crap I had to go through? Punched in the head because I had a red hat, wasn't even a Trump hat. All the jobs that I missed, all my career suffered from it. Pat, we're ride or die, and I think that's where people were pissed off.
And no other men, apparently, were ever involved in any criminal activity with this guy.
What's up, everybody? Welcome back to the channel. Okay, so reluctantly enough, we're still talking about Jeffrey Epstein up in this piece, man. And look, this is going to keep going on forever and ever and ever. And look, I can't do anything about it, y'all. I'm serious on this one. I can't do anything about it. Jeffrey Epstein is still on the top of everybody's mind. Everybody wants to know what's going on with this. However, you know, I think I may have some answers. You know, I've been putting all the logical Legos in place for a little while. I think I may have some answers, but we got a pretty good discussion on this, so we're going to get into this. But before we do, y'all do me that favor. Smash that like button for me. Share this video anywhere and everywhere you can. Subscribe, by the way, if you want to stay up to date with news and politics and how you're being manipulated by corporate press news articles. This is absolutely the place to be. This is the best place for that, because you are definitely being manipulated by the corporate press on a constant basis. They want to make you think the way they do. And we don't think like that. We think critically around here. But y'all do all that for me. And without any further ado, let's get it, y'all.
Thank you all for your time. It was a fascinating interview there with Ghislaine Maxwell's brother. So I just wanted to complete that first. Let me just ask you, Lauren Boebert, first, your reaction to the fact that the House in Congress now wants to depose, it seems, Ghislaine Maxwell.
Yes, well, my colleague, Tim Burchett from Tennessee, has language to bring her in before the Oversight Committee and have Ghislaine Maxwell testify. You just spoke in your previous segment about immunity. There have been rumors on the Hill that she wants a pardon before she would do that. That's not confirmed to me, but certainly rumors that have been spoken about. And so I don't know if she would come before Congress with an immunity deal, with a pardon deal. I don't think that this is somebody who should be pardoned, or maybe when we hear what we have to say, maybe she should. But I don't see anything wrong with having the star witness actually say what's happening. Now, President Trump, he has done so many things that unfortunately are being overshadowed by this. We are all about truth and transparency, and I do trust the president's timing that he will get this out. We've had votes in the Rules Committee on such language. There's a discharge petition that I'm a co-sponsor of. Congressman Thomas Massey has drafted this language with a Democrat to get Democrat support. Of course, they're all over this right now. It's the first hint of corruption that they've ever wanted to expose. I mean, I've been in Congress trying to expose Hunter Biden and the Biden crime family all of this time, even Joe Biden's cognitive decline. And there was like nothing to see here, folks. They looked like the penguins in Madagascar. You didn't see anything. And now all of a sudden they're about truth and transparency. But I do agree with Congressman Tim Burchett. And even many parts of the discharge petition that I'm a co-sponsor of in getting truth out to the American people, mainly because I want President Trump to continue on his amazing successes and what he is doing for the country and not be distracted by this mess. I've had communications with the White House. I do trust that there is a timing for this. And right now, we honestly should be talking about the treasonous activity that we have seen with Barack Obama as he was going out of his administration and what our Secretary Gabbard has uncovered. That should be the main topic today, but instead we are focused on Epstein. And I just want to say one more thing, Piers. For years, we wanted to talk about Epstein and no one would. Everyone called us crazy. They called us conspiracy theorists. And now all of a sudden, this is the hottest issue. And the Democrats who are saying that they have seen things that the Republicans didn't try hard enough to get information out. Where were they the past 2 years, the past 4 years, the past 6 years? Where were they in actually getting information out to the public then? So it's fine to have the conversation. It's even better to get information out to the American people. And your interview there was very, very fascinating. He certainly has more information on this topic than I ever would. So it was great to be here in the waiting room watching that interaction.
Well, I appreciate your patience. I think in relation to the Epstein scandal and the Trump administration, it's simply that I had Alina Haber on this show several months ago in which she was absolutely ramping up to fever pitch what was likely to be in the Epstein files, and then suddenly, bang, everything gets shut down in a very mysterious and sudden way on a Friday night. And it's exactly the kind of behavior that, honestly, if this had been the Biden administration had done that, I think exactly the same furore would have been fired up, but by you guys. So I do understand why the whole thing blew up the way it did. But listen, Lauren Boebert, I appreciate you joining me. Thank you for your patience.
I think Piers is completely correct about this. If this were the inverse, right? Which we did do this, by the way, while Biden was in office, but we didn't get anything. We could not get the Democrats to nibble on the bait. However, Donald Trump, he just grabbed onto that bait and he's just not letting go for some reason. But, Democrats, they see something that they can politically trounce on. So, yeah, hey, look, their polling numbers are absolutely in the gutter. So, hey, it's politically advantageous for them to do so. So that's what they're going to go do. So, getting back to what Lauren Boebert was talking about, though, I think she just alluded to something that I think we all believe, right? This whole thing with Obama. Most of that came out, we knew this, right? But we didn't know for sure, right? Like, that Obama pretty much orchestrated the entirety of not only the 2016 intelligence community assessment, but the Senate, the 2020 assessment. Now, what's fascinating about all this is it's kind of a distraction in a sense. Once again, we already knew all of this, so they're trying to distract away from the Epstein files. And it's once again, like I said, it's kind of a distraction, but it's kind of not, because now we have concrete proof and we know for a fact that Obama actually orchestrated the entirety from 2016 all the way up through 2023, for crying out loud, because all of it bleeds into everything else. This speaks to the impeachment of Donald Trump because of everything that was going on in Ukraine. And you might say, well, where's the connection to this? Well, they always accuse Donald Trump of being a Russian spy. And now we know that Obama orchestrated that entire regime. So, no. None of that was predicated upon anything. It was all predicated on a fabricated intelligence community assessment that they knew was fake. So the impeachment was fake. All of that nonsense was fake. It's fascinating. It really, really is. But I do think that this is a bit of a distraction, because I think there's something in the Epstein stuff. I think it mostly, right? Folks, look, I'm going to tell it to you plain like this. Okay, life is generally bland. It's mundane. It's repetitious. blah, 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 blah. We want these stories to be fantastical because we want life to be more like a movie. This is why conspiracy theories are so enticing to the human mind and why people latch onto these conspiracy theories and they just run with them, right? And you can correlate all kinds of stuff. But once again, folks, correlation is not causation. I think that Donald Trump himself is exceedingly embarrassed to have been friends with Jeffrey Epstein, and he just doesn't want to admit any of this. He doesn't want any of this to come out because he was close friends with Jeffrey Epstein. I don't think Donald Trump has any criminal culpability to any of this. All right, think about this for a second, right? These people, these child sex abusers, these pedos, if you will, you know, these people, they're not openly brazen with their pedophilia, if you will. No, they're not. So this whole thing that there was all these people involved, how do we get to a point to where one man says to another without knowing that this guy also agrees with him on the pedo stuff that, hey, maybe do you like underage girls? Like people just don't come out and say that. So how do people get connected to such a large operation that was going on with Jeffrey Epstein? That's the first question you must ask yourself. So is this thing as widespread as what we think? Maybe it's not. Maybe it is, but maybe it's not. You know, maybe some of this is as people say. You get somebody in a compromising situation and then boom, blackmail. Maybe that's what this whole thing was all about. But there's something in here that's holding Trump back from releasing all this. But we'll get into all that. I've got another clip. Let's keep going.
Charles, in modern American history, is a woman who's languishing in jail, and no other men apparently were ever involved in any criminal activity with this guy. What is your view about this?
First off, kudos to you, Piers. That interview was spectacular. What the hell is going on here, Piers? So he's saying that the Prince Andrew photo's fake? You're joking. He's saying that is a doctored photo. This is the opinion of the Maxwell family, that she never hung out with Prince Andrew. And then 2 questions later, he says, when they were all hanging out together with Prince Andrew, exactly what the hell just happened? That's crazy talk, man. And then his admissions about his father and his workings with foreign intel agencies. These are some bombshell admissions and some things that I really hope get asked in the federal testimony that is going to be elicited from Ghislaine Maxwell, that I have sources inside of the DOJ and the FBI that says that meeting is on the books. It's not something that they're dangling in front of us, Piers. It's not some shiny object. It's happening. It's already on the schedule, and it's going to happen. And so what's going to become of that? I'd really love to see the answers to that question. Ghislaine Maxwell is on the record saying she doesn't believe that Jeffrey Epstein killed himself. Well, why exactly? What was the operation? Did you literally sex traffic thousands of women to no one? Who was your father? Did you meet Prince Andrew? Is this a doctored photo, as you just elicited out of her brother? These are wild bombshells. Bang on, Piers. That interview is something else.
Well, also, I just think in the end, you know, Andrew paid Virginia Giuffre $11 million reportedly to not go to court and clear his name as he vowed to. And secondly, Ghislaine Maxwell paid apparently several $1 million to Virginia Giuffre to avoid going to court and defending herself against her claims that the Virginia Giuffre was a liar. So, you know, I agree that in America, a lot of people settle without any admission of fault or blame or guilt. However, when a load of people caught up in one of the biggest scandals of modern times are paying millions of dollars to people while simultaneously claiming they weren't victims, and nothing happened, and there's nothing to see here, Gov, I'm just not buying it.
Well, here's, I think, the most important part. And if you speak with any federal prosecutor, as we've done multiple times on my show, you'll find something very strange here. And it really aligns perfectly and locks in with the Diddy trial. And there are major connections between the two. But here's the most major glaring connection that any federal prosecutor will scream from high heavens until his voice cracks over. which is you can't charge a RICO case without any co-conspirators. The way a RICO case and a kingpin case works, and Epstein's case was a kingpin case, was you start bringing in the lower level people and charging them. Same thing with Diddy, with the RICO case. You bring in the people who brought in the prostitutes or found the young women, who set up the freak-offs, who set up Epstein's Island. You prosecute the pilots, you prosecute the underlings, and then you build yourself up to a RICO case. In both cases, it was a wrap-up operation. The prosecution, Piers, was the cover-up. This was an opportunity for the federal government to seal something, not to expose something. And that's what has bothered so many people. They are intricately connected.
Okay, Vinny, do you accept that this has all been handled incredibly badly by the Trump administration? Because I think that's inarguable now, right?
Okay, folks, so this right here is basically what Benny Johnson was alluding to. Ghislaine Maxwell granted limited immunity while giving DOJ 100 different people linked to Jeffrey Epstein. Blah, 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 blah. You go through and you read the news article, and it's nothing. It's a giant nothing burger because they gave us nothing in that. They just said, well, basically Todd Blanche, over the course of 2 days, 9 hours, interviewed Ghislaine Maxwell, and basically he asked about 100 different people that were referenced in the Epstein files. Did they commit any sort of crimes with underage girls? Blah. But we don't get any answers as to whether they did or not. Not yet. So based upon her testimony, maybe we'll find out, maybe we won't. But once again, I postulate to everybody out there, I don't think this is going to be as widespread as people think. We know Bill Clinton was involved. That's one. That can't be denied. Prince Andrew, that's another one. Can't really be denied at this point. Possibly Bill Gates. And there's possibly some other people, some unnamed people. We just don't know. If these people were blackmailed into doing something, at that point, you know, victim or not, I think they should go down with the ship on that, to be honest with you. But, you know, once again, folks, I think Benny Johnson is kind of onto something. You know, what he's alluding to right here is that the prosecution was a cover-up within itself, because he's totally correct, right? You don't go after something like this, a giant pedo ring, where this dude's got an island where he brings people to the island and does untoward thing with underage girls, right? There could be a lot of people involved with that. But what's bad about this is, and I think this is part of why Trump is not letting this go, is because there could have been hundreds of people go to that island and never done a damn thing, right? Could have been just parties because this dude had money. He was, quote unquote, according to the corporate press, just a financier. Well, you know what? Like they say, you know, Ghislaine Maxwell is serving 20 years in prison for trafficking women to this island to what? A couple of people? Yeah, maybe. But come on, that's kind of hard to believe. But once again, folks, I posit to you, sometimes life is a lot more mundane than what we would love to believe that it will be. So, where do we go with this? Once again, Trump, just release the evidence. And we would shut up about it. You know, you could go on and say, you know, you could try to admonish your own base if you want, but we are not going to stop Donald Trump release the damn files, for crying out loud, to shut everybody up. You don't tell us, I don't want your support anymore. No, that's not what you do. Donald Trump is currently destroying his base right now. And for what? A little bit of embarrassment? Take the embarrassment on the chin and keep going. We love what you're doing with the country right now, with all of your policy. The only reason we're so animated about this is because we want transparency. We want accountability. We want transparency. We want to know, was the CIA involved? Was Mossad involved? Like, I have no idea. I'm on the fence about Mossad, right? Because there's no way to know. Sure, it could be. Could very well be, but it could very well not be. It could be just that Jeffrey Epstein was doing all this just for his own purposes. You just never know. But let's keep going.
If you are.
Piers, I have a quick question for you.
Yeah.
You've known Donald Trump for 20 years, admittedly, yes? Okay. You've hung out with him in private. You've hung out with him in public. Yes. Okay. Have you ever known him to be a limp-wristed thespian, like a vaudevillian poet that would write enigmatic, mysterious poems to Jeffrey Epstein and then wear some type of French hat and draw beautiful outlines of women scantily clad? Like, does it sound like Donald Trump to you?
I can say 2 things about that. I'll say 3 things about that. One, he's never done that to me, okay, in either written or verbal form. Secondly, evidence has come out that he's been quite a doodler in his time. So I don't think he's never non-doodled. And thirdly, as you probably know, Ben, I mean, I've got probably 150 handwritten scrawls from Trump over things he's read about me, emails I've sent him. That's his way he corresponds. He doesn't use email himself. He'll send you back a printout of your email and he'll scrawl with his Sharpie whatever he wants to scrawl. So he's a scrawler and apparently a doodler, but I have never known him write in the way that you're talking about. So it's going to be a really interesting case here. Listen, the Wall Street Journal wouldn't have published that if they weren't convinced it was genuine. But Trump has been emphatic in his denial. Shouldn't he be
calling for them?
Well, no, listen, I don't know.
Apparently, they don't even have the documents. Shouldn't we be calling for them to release every letter?
Right, listen.
Wouldn't that be fair to release? What was Bill Clinton writing Jeffrey Epstein at that time?
Benny, I don't know the answer to the questions you're asking, and it'll be interesting if this actually goes to any actual trial about it.
And Piers, if you don't mind, Piers, and Benny, the biggest problem is that Truth Social post where Trump goes, hey, listen, if you're still talking about it, why are you talking about it? Then I don't need your support. And it's like, what are you talking about? People like me who've been there since 2016 in Los Angeles, I had to move. I was doing stand-up comedy and acting. You know how much crap I had to go through, punched in the head because I had a red hat, wasn't even a Trump hat. All the jobs that I missed, all my career suffered from it. Pat, we're ride or die, and I think that's where people were pissed off. Is don't just discard us, okay, and just tell us the absolute truth. You know, we just want the truth. Tell us the truth. Tell us what the hell is going on. You know what I mean? Like it's
Vinny, I hear you. Vinny, I hear you
Go
because I do think a lot of MAGA voters feel exactly the same way. But I think they were deliberately led up a pathway here on the Epstein files that A, it was a really big deal, and that B, there was a lot that the public weren't being told that was available to the authorities, and that the moment the Trump gang got back into power, that this would all be revealed. And then after Donald Trump won, the team carried on revving everybody up.
Yeah, I have a lot of questions about that letter right there. Like, come on now. Like, you mean to tell me they just came across this? A 20-something-year-old letter that was signed by Donald. Like, who signs, like, does Donald Trump ever sign anything Donald? For crying out loud. Like, none of that makes any sense. I think they screwed up. I think they got a hold of this and was like, oh, this has got to be Donald Trump. They're presenting it as Donald Trump, but there is absolutely no proof that it was written by Donald Trump. But even if it was, who cares? It's not incriminating on anything, right? Like, sure, it might be a little bit creepy, but like Donald Trump doesn't say creepy stuff ever? No, grab him by the, you know what? Like, come on, dudes talk like that. Donald Trump is a dude. Nothing about this makes any sense. Democrats, because they're lost in the freaking woods, they're politically pouncing on this thing, and they're just like, oh, this is proof. Oh, we've got him this time, y'all. Look how much corruption is going on over here. Which, where's the corruption? Like, seriously, they're pointing at Donald Trump saying corruption, whilst at the same time ignoring the fact that they held on to the White House, the House, and the Senate for 2 years, did nothing with any of this. They did nothing with it. And I come across this live stream the other day with this dude called the Handsome Liberal. He's a good watch, by the way. And he was sitting there, he gets mad anytime you bring up Joe Biden. Like, no, come on. We got rid of Joe Biden for this. And all of these Democrats, right, they're all pretending that MAGA campaigned on the Epstein files. No, he didn't campaign on the Epstein files. He was asked about, would you release the Epstein files? And he was a little bit skittish on whether he said yes, but he was still a little bit like, well, you know, blah, blah, blah. We'll have to see about that. Like, come on. Like, let's not pretend that that was a campaign promise by Donald Trump to release the Epstein files. A lot of MAGA, as a matter of fact, right now currently is pretending that, they're not going to support Donald Trump. They're not going to support MAGA anymore because he won't release the damn files. As if Donald Trump campaigned on this. I'm getting sick and tired of that. That's just ridiculous. He absolutely didn't. They're pretending he went around to every single rally and was like, I'm going to release the Epstein files. You're going to get blah, blah. No, that never happened, y'all. It absolutely never freaking happened. So, to those people, I would like you to currently right now sit back, sit down, and shut up about that, because that never happened. It really, really didn't. But, outside of all that, we still want the damn transparency. We absolutely do. Let's keep going.
Well, Vinny, as we're talking, the House Speaker, Mike Johnson, has just sent the House into recess early, shutting down until September to block a vote calling for the release of the Epstein files. He says it's because the Democrats are playing political games. All other votes have been cancelled in order to prevent the vote on Epstein. So the idea of this isn't having real-world significant consequences is obviously for the birds. When the House is shutting down and other votes are being cancelled because they can't take a risk of a vote on Epstein, then it's a big deal. And I think it's a big deal because of all the activity on the Trump side before and after the election about these files. What's your view?
I think that's fair. I've never seen this happen before. I've been in Washington for 15 years. I was in Congress for 6. I was in the White House for 4. I don't remember ever seeing Congress just shutting down this early in July and leaving until September. Keep in mind, and I know that's not what this segment is about, but there's a lot of other things that Congress needs to be doing. The federal government runs out of money the end of September, so they're staring at a federal shutdown. If they don't pull something off when they get back. This is a big, big deal. And I think it comes back to the point you guys have raised. They don't know how to handle it. Everybody's confused because Trump did make a big deal about this for a long time. I thought rightly so. And then just to sort of turn on a dime and say there's nothing to see here, as a bunch of people scratching their heads. One of the most interesting things I've learned in this interview is a bunch of fascinating stuff. When you had Lauren Boebert on there, I don't think you'll find anybody more pro-Trump than Lauren Boebert in the United States House of Representatives. She has signed a discharge petition. That means very little to folks out in the real world. That's the most treasonous thing you can do against your leadership in the United States House. So if there's enough Republicans willing to go against the Speaker of the House and say, you know what, we don't care, we want this stuff to come out, that's also just sort of thumbing their nose at the president. Donald Trump a couple of weeks ago got asked, he goes, what does MAGA really mean? And he said, and he's got the right to say this, he says, MAGA means whatever I say it means. This is putting this to the test. I do think they've stepped here. I think they've already sort of tacitly admitted that by saying they're going to now try to release the grand jury testimony, see if that satisfies everybody. It won't. But they do have a problem here. And for the sake, look, to be perfectly clear, and I don't know if this has been, I think if anybody said this explicitly, I apologize for the repetition. I don't expect there's anything criminal about Donald Trump in these files. Is his name going to be in there? Sure, there's a bunch of names in there, but there's nothing incriminating here. Why do I believe that? Because if there were, the Democrats who have controlled this file for the last 4 years would have either leaked it out or put it out professionally.
That's exactly, you know what? That's exactly what I think. Why wouldn't they? They're chucking everything else at him. They were trying to get him jailed left, right, and center.
Wouldn't it be worse than the Apple?
Sorry, don't know what's going on. I'm going to Benny.
Yeah.
Piers, unless they're on the list, like, think about it. You want to talk about Democrats? Like, of course they wouldn't want this out. Like, has anybody asked Bill Clinton why did Jeffrey Epstein visit the White?
Yeah, but you see, Vinny, that's also a good point. But that also raises the question that given they hadn't released anything, then that's why everybody wanted the Republicans to, and then they didn't. Benny, my thing with Trump is you can normally tell when he's worried about something by the sheer volume of things he does to try and distract everybody's attention.
Yeah, I'm not sure what the hell Mike Johnson was thinking by shutting down Congress to prevent that vote. Like, it's nonsense. He's not helping the case right now. Obviously, he's not helping the case, and it's absurd. Like, but did we expect anything else from Mike Johnson? Look, I'll be the first one to say, when Mike Johnson was elected as Speaker of the House, I kind of cheered. I watch a lot of committee hearing videos, right? A lot of those. And back when he was on committee, he was on the Judiciary Committee, the dude would get up there and he would rail against just about every single talking point that we advocate for as conservatives, right? Like, he would go off. And I was like, yes, I would cheer when I would see Mike Johnson come up and start grilling some of these people about anything and everything, right? So I was like, oh, Mike Johnson. A lot of people didn't know who Mike Johnson was. If you didn't know who Mike Johnson was, he's a major freaking disappointment, as a matter of fact. Like, man, I am so aggravated at this point that we didn't get Jim Jordan. However, you know, once again, I kind of think about that for a second, and I'm like, you know, never meet your heroes type of thing going on right here, because what if, you know, Jim Jordan, it doesn't seem like the type to do this, but neither did Mike Johnson. Like, people didn't know Mike Johnson. Mike Johnson was kind of like a miniature Jim Jordan, to be honest with you. So it's, once again, would Jim Jordan be in the same position? Would he be doing this? I don't think he would, but once again, I didn't think Mike Johnson would be like this either. It's fascinating, y'all. It really, really is. But let's keep going. I got a couple more clips to show you guys, and some fascinating information, that's for sure.
Benny, my thing with Trump is you can normally tell when he's worried about something by the sheer volume of things he does to try and distract everybody's attention. And several days ago, he posted more than 24 times on his social media platform, Truth Social, in just a couple of hours, phony mugshots of Obama, showing him apparently being arrested in the Oval Office, posting about the NFL's Washington Commanders, demanding they change their name back to the Redskins, posting a video of a bikini-clad woman picking up and tossing a snake, a man somersaulting down a stairway, a red Lamborghini careering beneath a truck, a man jumping a fence and coming face-to-face with a speeding train, a woman breakdancing a billiards tree, a man hacking away at a rock formation, a dirt biker doing stunts, a jet ski, a man ascending an obstacle course with a ladder, a man jump roping, a man pulling a block from a still-standing massive Jenga tower, a man tossing rubbish into a dumpster from his balcony, a man doing a flip, somebody carrying a heavy object on their shoulders, a man juggling a drop package of paper towels, and someone doing a skateboard trick. I mean, there's a lot of distraction there, Benny.
That sounds like a great social media feed.
It was actually very entertaining.
Like something I'm going to follow.
Very entertaining, but normally something that he reserves for when he really is quite worried about something.
Well, yes, that's right. It's the same account that's also posted, "Kill all terrorists, you dumb bastards," and posted constantly about Rosie O'Donnell. And somebody who also said he has a bigger button than Kim Jong-un. I think, Mick, you might have been at the White House, actually, when that when that post was, I have a big red button, and it actually works. Once again, this is President Trump, and the actions today, I don't know if, I know you weren't taking it live because we were doing the interview, but the actions that President Trump said today in the White House moments ago when he was asked about this, he fielded a number of questions on Epstein. He said, let Pam Bondi release everything. Let the FBI release everything. Let them interview Ghislaine Maxwell. I'm confounded as to why Ghislaine Maxwell has never once gotten an opportunity to explain herself. Not in her trial. She never spoke. Not to the press. The one time that she did an interview from prison, she said Jeffrey Epstein did not kill himself, and I think they got to him. Well, who's they exactly? That's what shrouds the mystery here. And the move by the DOJ, I think we need to take a moment, step back and say, wait a second, this is the first time that the DOJ has ever reached out to Ghislaine Maxwell in the history of us trying to understand what the Epstein op actually is. And this goes back 20 years. If you really want to get down to the true cover-up, and this is what makes my blood boil, that people inside of the current Trump administration are walking around with a dark cloud over them for a cover-up that happened 20 years ago when President Trump was a TV host. This was happening in 2005, 2006, 2007, and 2008. With Robert Mueller at the FBI, with Alberto Gonzales as our attorney general, and George W. Bush as our president. This is when Epstein actually properly caught his sweetheart deal. So sweet it'd give you diabetes type 2, Piers.
Yeah, no, I know.
He was able to walk in and out of prison.
Outrageous.
He was dead to rights. Jeffrey Epstein should not be on the tip of anyone's tongue today. He should be rotting in a prison cell for life. Now, something dark happened then, 20 years ago nearly. And it had nothing to do with President Trump. No one on President Trump's team was in power. And I know clips from my show, Kash Patel, have gone viral. Clips from your show, Alina Habba, has gone viral. But none of these people were in power. None of them should have to answer for the cover-up that happened 20 years ago. And that should truly be the nexus of our questions. What happened then when Jeffrey Epstein was caught underage trafficking over 50 women in 2025? What happened was he started giving up sources to the FBI. Robert Mueller gave him immunity in 2005. Correction, 2005. Robert Mueller was the head of the FBI. You know who was also at the FBI as a deputy? James Comey at that time, Piers. And so then through the course of the prosecution in Florida, the federal charges are dropped. Alex Acosta gets told he belongs to Intel and to not look into it. Jeffrey Epstein gets the sweetest of sweetheart deals, and Ghislaine Maxwell is arguing that I have immunity because the federal government told me I have immunity forever, which is something, of course, the federal government never does. So
Okay,
that's
but
insane.
Benny, let me ask you this.
All
right, but Benny,
looking at those questions. Those
listen, I think you make a lot of very good points. I totally agree with you. But on this point about House Speaker Mike Johnson shutting the House down to avoid a vote on Epstein, how does that do anything but just ramp everything up tenfold?
Totally agree with you. You know, we went thermonuclear viral, made international news last week by asking Mike Johnson live on our stream inside of the United States Capitol about this issue. And he said he's totally in favor of full disclosure. But what he said today was that he wants, I agree. I contend that there are countervailing opinions here. And but Mike Johnson told me in a 2-minute, what I thought very thorough answer, that he wants full disclosure here and that he'd be okay with Ghislaine Maxwell testifying before Congress. Now, what he said today was that he wants to give the White House time to maneuver this or to work on this. I'm not sure his exact language. So maybe Mick, who's been a member of Congress, can commentate on what that actually means. But that's what he told us last week.
Just the fact that we're not getting the transparency that we deserve on this, and the answers are so elusive. You know, I think, honestly, when we do get the transparency, that we're going to be disappointed a little bit. That's my honest and earnest opinion about all of this, right? I think a lot of people are correlating a lot of things that have nothing to do with the cause of what's going on here. Right? I think, once again, life is a lot more simple and less conspiratorial, if you will, than what we would like to believe that it is. Right? I think it's just Trump is embarrassed to have been friends with a wild and crazy pederast over here with Jeffrey Epstein. I think he's just highly embarrassed. He's highly embarrassed that he was mentioned in the Epstein files, in the investigations. We already know this. He's embarrassed that he's on the flight logs. He was embarrassed. He booted him out of Mar-a-Lago after that sweetheart deal that they were just talking about. Like, how does somebody such as Jeffrey Epstein get a deal like that, by the way? Intelligence must be involved, maybe. I don't know. I'm not saying that he was involved with any sort of intelligence agencies. But look, how else do you get out from underneath that? Like, once again, they've got all the evidence. We've got the evidence. We threw him in jail for crying out loud. We want to know if he actually offed himself. That's what they keep saying. We trust Dan Bongino and Kash Patel, right? I think that's another thing right quick. I think a lot of people are conflating Donald Trump with Kash Patel and Dan Bongino, because Dan Bongino, Kash Patel were the ones telling us we're going to get transparency on these things. And for the most part, we've gotten the transparency on the Crossfire Hurricane and several other things that Kash Patel has released to the public. But those stories went highly just under the radar for the most part. I covered them here on the channel, but a lot of people didn't notice that they released a bunch of files. But anyway, regardless of that, these people, the people in Trump's cabinet, we're talking about Epstein, blah, blah, blah. We're going to get this. We're going to get that. We're going to give you this and this, blah, 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 blah. But it wasn't really ever Trump. But getting back to the point, how do you get out from underneath the weight of all this evidence with the island and everything that was going on with Virginia Dufresne and all of those people, well, you know, the underage girls or whatever, and Ghislaine Maxwell, what she was actually doing? You know, none of this makes any sense, right? We want the co-conspirators, like he was talking about earlier. Like, a lot, at this point, you know, I've talked about getting accountability. That's what we want. We want accountability for all this. However, you know, there is this thing called statute of limitations. At this point, it's probably ran out. So, for the most part, like, what are we even going to get if we get all this? Just the knowledge that these people were involved? Possibly, because at this point, we're never going to have any proof. We're never going to have any concrete proof. You know, it's all going to be hearsay. if whatever Ghislaine Maxwell told Todd Blanche about any co-conspirators, it's going to be hearsay. We're not going to have any proof. That sucks, to be honest with you. So you've got a bunch of people over here. We're chomping at the bit for information. And honestly, it's like one of those garbage protein bars. You want it. You're like, I'm starving here. You finally get your protein bar. And when you're done with it, you're still hungry. It wasn't satisfying. We're never going to be satisfied with this, with the answers that we get, to be honest with you. We're never going to be satisfied. So, I'm not telling anybody to move on at all. I'm just saying, prepare for disappointment. That's all I'm saying on this. Be prepared to be very, very disappointed. We're not going to get the grand conspiracy that all of these elites are involved. We're not going to get accountability. I don't know if these files are ever going to come out. Like, once again, people keep screaming about the list as if some magical list is going to appear one day. As if Jeffrey Epstein or even, Ghislaine Maxwell had a list of people. We're going to traffic this girl to this person and this girl to this person. And this person wants, a 14-year-old. Blah. None of that. That didn't exist. Look, people are associates, right? You don't need a list of all your friends. Like, seriously, folks, to anybody that thinks that there was a list out there, they're like, do you need a list of all your friends? If you go play Magic the Gathering or something like that, do you need a list of people that play Magic the Gathering? No, you don't. You know those people, and you call them up and say, hey, you want to play Magic the Gathering? There's no concrete proof that you ever played Magic the Gathering with any of these people. There's none. That's what we've got going on here, folks. You can connect the flight logs, everybody that went to the island, and it's all going to be speculation from now until doomsday. All of it's going to be speculation, folks, because we're never going to know who was a pederast and who was just associates with Jeffrey Epstein, and he threw together a party or a freaking barbecue or Diddy party, whatever it may be. Right? And all the connections to Diddy, I'm not sure about all that. Are these two the same thing, by the way? Like what Diddy was doing? Because to be honest with you, Diddy seems a lot more enticing as far as all that goes. We've got a lot more evidence for that. But that's a whole different story that I'm not even going to get into, by the way. I'm not going to get into it, but, this is all fascinating. And, we're at this point, we've said just about everything we can say. We've logically broke down just about everything we can break down. We need an injection of new information into this thing so we can see what's actually going on. But until we get that, there really ain't nothing else to talk about except give us the damn files, for crying out loud. But it is what it is, y'all. That's all I got on this one. Y'all don't forget to smash that like button for me. Subscribe if you're new around here, and share this video anywhere and everywhere you can. And if you would be so inclined, I would be greatly appreciative if you would click that join button right below the video. Click it, sign up, become a member. Help this channel expand and grow so we can get the news out to everybody that needs to get the news, and the right information to the correct people that need to know that information. But that's all I got, y'all. Y'all try to have a good day. Stay legitical. Peace.